So I think I know why, but the way to avoid it is to make sure you hit the function button right before it. I can fix it. What I think it is, we eliminated a.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Tonight, we're looking at the future of Boise State esports. Tomorrow, National Signing Day for Boise State football and Boise State esports. And the Broncos on the esports side bringing in a ton of talented recruits. I'm going to be joined by Doc Haskell to go over some of the future names you can expect to see on the Rift, on the field, and everywhere else for Boise State esports committing tomorrow, as well as some other potential recruits that Boise State is looking forward to add to their list. And I mean, to start things off, Doc, I never thought National Signing Day for esports would rival National Signing Day for football, let alone be on the same day, let alone be this hype.
It is really, really exciting, and there's quite a few that we're still kind of waiting to find out.
That's always the mystery.
Yep.
What hat are they going to put on? I know that's the football one. I don't know if we'll have any caps out for any of the big Boise State recruits. That would be a ton of fun, but I think some of the more talented or esports schools probably don't have very many football caps.
Well, here's the deal: is that if we're going to send somebody a group of hats so they can do the little hat dance and then put one on, we tried to buy some of them. Mizzou, not a problem, but the bookstore at UCI, you say, yes, I'd like to buy a hat with the UCI logo on it, and they say, why? So.
As I say, some of these schools for esports, I've heard them like, I have never heard of that school in my life, and I watch a lot of college athletics. So I could see hats for some of them being very difficult. But we've got a couple of huge recruits for Boise State that are going to be signing on the dotted lines tomorrow that we want to make sure we talk about.
So
and
excited.
Then, as I mentioned, we've got some more recruits that we're always keeping an eye on, because as hard as it is for me to say, and I'm sure some of the Bronco fans, some of these names that we've come to know and love, they can only be in school for so long.
Yep, it's true. And if we do our job right, they're going to graduate and they're going to move on. And so we've always got to keep our eye on the horizon of who's going to be the next dean, who's going to be the next Red Hots or the next Goblin or whatever name he chooses this week, right? Who's going to replace these folks? Who's going to be the next Nerdy Bird, right? We got to know who that is.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost choking me up thinking about like what I have to call a League of Legends game without Red Hots, without Dean, a Rocket League game without Cosmo Buster. It is just absolutely, it's unfathomable to me. Yeah. I don't know how I can't even handle it. I don't know how you handle it, but I think you're going to be pretty happy because from what I've heard and what we're going to see tonight, you've got some pretty talented kids coming into this program that are already signed. I'm sure you're basically like, can tomorrow be here already? I don't care about Tuesday.
We are so excited about the recruiting class that's coming in, and amazed with the quality of student and the quality of player that we're getting in this draft. I mean, we are winning signing day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what every coach will brag about. Hey, we won on signing day, and then you see how often those signing day victories turn into reality. And I think one other thing that you mentioned, you talked about Mizzou, you talked about UCI. Yeah. Who are the main competitors for Boise State esports when it comes to signing day? Because for football, it's okay, what did you do versus the rest of the Mountain West? Conferences a little bit more loosey-goosey in esports. So who are our top competitors? Who are we competing against in the esports world for some of these recruits?
Well, regionally, we're always going to compete against schools like Utah, right? Mm-hmm. Schools like Washington, which doesn't have an official varsity program, but they definitely pull in a lot of amazing players. Washington State, regionally, for us. Utah State, Nevada, pull in a lot of these folks. But as far as big varsity programs, of course, Utah being one of those, and a couple of the California schools, UCI, a little bit further away, we get some of the Texas schools, UTD, and schools like Mizzou, you mentioned. But regionally, we kind of set our sights on Utah and soon to be Oregon for those that we need to make sure we get in with them early so that they don't end up in in the crimson and white or the green and gold.
Yeah, I mean, that is the other thing is, in majority of sports, schools are pretty established. It is kind of weird in esports, like you mentioned, UW doesn't have an official program. I'm sure that's on the horizon. Oregon, not yet an official program, but as soon as they get there, they're going to attract the big names. So definitely good to get your Boise State, one of the top first, varsity esports programs that was on the map, up there with Utah, who was another one of those. So always going to be interesting to compete. I mean, Utah, Mizzou, UTD, UCI, those are the kind of the schools that I know when we have a lot of big tournaments, especially tournaments coming up in the spring. It's how do we do versus Mizzou? How do we do against those schools? So always good to beat them out for some recruits as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see who we've got as the caster. My only concern, Doc, is how easy is the gamer tag to pronounce. If we've got some complicated gamer tags, I'm going to be like, Doc, I know I have zero impact on who you recruit, but we need to have a chat with this person, make sure it's easy for me to pronounce. So that is the only thing I'm watching out for. I don't care if they're bronze or top 500. If it's an easy gamer tag, they're a win in my book. So
yeah.
Let's hop right into it. The first one, John Chosen Ranella, going to be one of the headline. He's going to be signing for Boise State tomorrow, a top 500 Overwatch support. And what caught your eye for him? I mean, when did you notice this kid for Overwatch? Honest
to goodness, he has been on our recruiting board longer than anybody else, right? 2 full years. When he was a sophomore, Chosen was we're paying close attention to him. Then as a DPS player, he made the specific decision to then switch over to support, something that he knew that he really could do well at based on his skills, and started playing with some very high-level groups and teams in preparation. And there were a lot of schools on Chosen's radar, but he ended up selecting Boise State, and his parents are amazing. In fact, John and his dad, Brad, came out here. We're looking at some of John's other talents. He created this video and is a really talented videographer as well, and we were able to take advantage of some of his skills earlier this year. He created some stuff for us, and you remember the triple boop? Oh, love it so much.
I'm so glad he was able to get the angle. I remember live, we didn't have the right angle, and we were just freaking out. But video skills aside, how do you see Chosen fitting into the Boise State Overwatch lineup that last semester absolutely popped off? The team just felt like they were on anher level. So where do you see him fitting in immediately as a freshman?
Well, he's a really talented Zen and a really talented Lucio player. Really, he can play all the supports very, very well, but he's going to slide into an already stacked lineup and provide that GM support.
I mean, I don't think I can say Boise State Overwatch without thinking of talented Lucio players. So it does basically fit that he kind of fits that mold. Boise State has had some really good Lucio players who've absolutely caused nightmares to teams and to me as I try and figure out where they are on the map. So always nice to see that. Next up is Mark Maxall Thanakana Sirichat, which is a very, very interesting name. Like I said, though, Maxall's a very easy gamer name, so I am happy about that. Also an Overwatch player. He's a top 500 DPS.
Yes.
When did Maxall catch your eye?
So, Thanakana Sirichat, Mark, as we know him. Tom is his first name, but Mark is his wonderful, just kind of colloquial name. He is actually from Eastern Idaho, the pride of Skyline High School, and an unbelievable player. We became very familiar with him through the Esports Tower group, which is associated with the eFuse combines and Esports Tower events that they do. We met him that way, discovered that he also reached out to us before, but we got a chance to see him play with other GM and top 500 high school players through their organized really scouting combines, and got to know him much better in that process. We got to meet his family, and he is a really, really clever and talented player. We cannot wait to bring him in.
And much like Chosen, I mean, since we're still on the Overwatch, where do you see him slotting in? Because DPS is also another role where Boise State last year, ton of talented players. Where do you see him kind of fitting in? Does he have a specific champion? I know that sometimes cost Boise State someone couldn't play. A specific champion was meta. Is that maybe his role, or do you think he's just going to slot in right away as how talented he is?
Right, so he is super talented. He is going to make a slot for himself instead of taking a slot. So we're not reloading him in and somebody else going out, but with Goblin, with Rezo, of course, with Plato, he is going to be able to specialize on his heroes. We're going to be able to build comps around what he does. So
And what are those heroes? Do you have any idea?
Oh, well, he's a phenomenal tracer player, a crack widow player, and as you saw there in one of those clips, I mean, his Junkrat is, I think it's the only way to describe it, is dirty. I mean, so good.
Boise State Overwatch, you might have to describe as dirty. I mean, we saw how talented it was last year. 2 top 500 players coming in, absolutely incredible. And then the third player we've got that we know is officially signing, Brett Lightpulse Narkonovitz, top GM support player. This is the one that pains me because this means officially that Dean is on the way out. Yep. But Boise State clearly not losing much, going from a challenger to a GM. Pretty impressive.
Well, and he is right on the door of challenger. It's Brett is the pride of Glide. Tomorrow at his school, they're going to do a full assembly for his signing. Huge that an esports, esports star like Brett is gonna do really cool stuff.
And I mean, obviously, we talked about it in the open. Some of the familiar names for Boise State are slowly going to be graduating, which is great for them. Right. Sad for us, great for them. Where do you see him slotting in for Boise State's League of Legends team? Because Dean has been a staple for Boise State for as long as I've been a caster. Correct.
Narkowitz is going to be able to slot right into that spot. He's going to have a couple of other new teammates as well. It's going to be a very new look, Bronco League of Legends team, one without Dean in the lineup. But boy, is he talented. He is easily, so Narkowitz is easily one of the top 10 high school League of Legends recruits in the country, and he selected Boise State.
See a lot of Thresh play in these highlights. I mean, that's something that we saw Dean play from time to time. Is Thresh going to be his go-to, or does he have a very wide champion pool? And how would you compare it to Dean? What do you think the play style differences are going to be for Boise State when they get Lightpulse on board?
Both of them have a similarity of when they need to be aggressive, they can be aggressive and oppressively aggressive. Remember that arrow from across the map that Dean would fire? Brett's got a lot of highlights like that, and he's a wonderful communicator and strategizer. He's going to fit right in.
I'm just going to apologize to Brett in advance. I'm going to call you Dean probably the very first game you play because Dean has been here for the last 2 years I've been broadcasting. So apologize in advance, Lightpulse. You're going to be Dean at least once or twice, and probably just not from me, probably from a bunch of other casters.
He won't be offended in the least. That is high praise. Yep. Keep in mind that Dean has played in one national championship game, right, as a member of Columbia College. We'll see where we get this year. But last season, 3 accounts at Challenger.
That's insane.
Yeah,
the man is probably not human at this point. But
yeah, I mean, it's like if somebody called you, Little Wilt or Little Jordan, right? Yeah. Can you be offended by that?
No, you can't at all. But no, I'm really glad to see Boise State not taking a step back. So those 3 players guaranteed to be signing on the dotted line tomorrow, including a giant high school assembly. Again, one of those things you see it on ESPN2 for the college football signing. Never thought I'd see a giant assembly for esports when I was in high school. Never thought I'd see it, period. So it's pretty great for Boise State to be having one of those. But there's still some more recruits on Boise State's radar. Of course, we talked about Rocket League. Don't have anything official yet, but I know there's some guys on your radar that we're going to take a look here because the one stat that still blows my mind, we've never had a Rocket League team that doesn't have Cosmo Buster on it. Somebody's going to step into those shoes. One of those guys could potentially be Stephen Newman.
Yes, and with the Stay Plugged In organization, we've been receiving tons of information about some fabulous players. Stevie is in Utah, and we're really excited about the possibility of having him come. Game development, digital art, he's really kind of ready-made for Boise State in so many ways. He knows the region, and he's been getting to play at really, really high levels with a lot of folks. He's one of these folks that the Spin group has brought to our attention, has kind of pre-vetted, and my goodness, if we can land Stevie, that'll be a huge win for our program. 1,700 currently, but high SSL. Don Dove, he's now recently changed his name from Z Factor, which I'll share that with you in a minute, is another one who's on our radar. He is in Las Vegas, Nevada, and had a chance to speak with he and his mom last week. I think that there's a visit in the future, but we're really grateful to know him, and he is ridiculously skilled. Look at that, 1950. That's where he is now, not just his one-time peak.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with, being from Nevada, UNLV always going to be on that list, so making sure you keep him away from UNLV, who I know Boise State and the Rebels have had a huge rivalry. Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the last one here.
Yeah, Xavier.
Xavier. I mean, and talk about it, we haven't really got to, so really quickly, I mean, League of Legends, Overwatch, there's certain roles. What are you looking for in a Rocket League recruit since there's not a meta and everyone's got to play almost every position?
But you've got to be really technically gifted, and you got to be a great communicator. And one of the things we absolutely love about him, now keep in mind, he's still a year out. He's possibly class of 22. He's working a 4.5. GPA.
I saw that. That number is just absolutely mind-blowing there. So some potential on the Rocket League corner, but of course, we've got the 3 that are signing. Doesn't mean you're done yet. Not everybody signs on the dotted line on signing day. We've still got a couple of lists of, what else are we looking for in Overwatch and in League of Legends and Rocket League. We'll start with Overwatch here. We see some of the top prospects that Boise State has an eye on, and it seems to be all over the place. Only one tank on the board is Boise State.
So far.
I mean, do you feel like tank's probably your strongest role in terms of who you've got the longest out of, and that's maybe why you're looking at support and DPS players right now?
It is, but also it's who's available right now. Who is at that point? Now you'll notice this list is broken into 2 parts. We've got some 22 down there at the bottom, but those that are kind of available right now. And we have these conversations with lots of different folks. And Fire Carter doing such a great job. He's on there twice.
Well, I mean, he's once on there as a GM DPS and once as a GM support. So, I mean, he deserves 2 spots. And I think I will say, Overwatch, probably one of the hardest games to climb solo as a tank. So there is that where, that would explain it. I mean, so you have a support, you have a DPS. Do you want to round out the class and try and get a tank, or is it just get the best player available? I know there's kind of different philosophies in all sports. Do we fill a need, or we get the best player available?
If I'm being honest, it's best student available. That's also really good at the game.
Yeah, that's a big part.
You can learn other roles in the game. You are not defined by size. Mm-hmm. These games do not favor size or speed, just the brain power. And so we look at those options as they come in. And, things change all the time relative to who's available semester to semester. Waiton being a great example in Rocket League of somebody who we've had consistently after semester, but now he's got an opportunity to build a YouTube and a Twitch empire, and he should take that chance, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he steps away, it creates an opportunity for someone else to step up. And so whether it's Greek or Like or the Raging Cajun himself, Ethan Hooter from Louisiana, we're really excited about the folks that we're still actively recruiting and hoping to get a commitment from.
Well, as we transition into League of Legends, I think the question still applies to Overwatch and League of Legends. How do you recruit? I mean, we saw, kids from 2022 potentially. How do you recruit for a game where a meta is always changing? A one trick on a Rhine or on a Kaisa right now in League of Legends could climb to Challenger. That champion might get nerfed. So how do you recruit for an ever-changing meta? Someone like Funsize might show up and his champion of choice gets nerfed to the ground. How do you plan for that?
Honestly, you have to look for history, and you have to look for the ability for them to to kind of figure out what's happening in the moment and adjust to it. So what did they do last season? What did they do 2 seasons ago? What do those success spikes look like? Because if they can kind of keep consistent, then they can figure out what's changing. They can change their play style. They're going to be successful in lots of metas. They're several parts. I mean, League of Legends specifically, Funsize is a great example of Blithely. Stephanie Todd would be amazing if we could find a way to get her here. Their key to success is their ability to learn the trades and then as a team play to the meta at the moment, right?
Yeah, and I got 2 questions for you.
Yep.
I see a lot of mid players on this list. So one, when are we going to be losing Ascent to graduation, of course? And 2, can any of them main Rumble and still make sure Rumble's perma-banned against Boise State?
I don't know that anybody can Rumble the way that Ascent can Rumble. In fact,
that's true.
We've got another semester with him. We're going to do everything in our power to get him active in the fall. Next semester he graduates in December, and to let him enjoy the remainder of his college experience. But the rest of that list that you see, it happens to be mid-heavy because of who's available right now. But these are the conversations that we're having.
Yep.
And Nell Hiccup would be a great to land here as well, as would Caffo and Runeweaver and that whole group. Rimpo and Luther are two that would be next year. They're 22. Yep. But we just keep trying to make these connections and find the right people.
I think the only way you're going to get a cent to have a great last semester is to get him to play Rumble, which I really hope. I want to see it. And I would just love to see somebody new for Boise State. If you could find another Rumble mid player who gets it banned every game, I would just be so happy. But let's transition over to our final game, Rocket League. And this is the really interesting one because, like I said, there is no meta. You are kind of looking for talented students across the board. So kind of walk us through what caught your eye for some of these players.
Okay, so there are a lot of really good folks on this list. Sir Hex, Dominic, we're having great conversations with Not one of the best players in the country right now, happens to be in high school, as does Danger, James Gilmore from Colorado, who we absolutely adore. Stevie, who you saw a little bit before. Zach from Oklahoma, another one of those great players. Mm-hmm. So Donnie Dove changed his name to Akimbo Hyper. He was Z Factor before Akimbo Hyper from Nevada. But seriously, great group that we continue to find opportunities to build with. And we were introduced to these folks also through the eFuse Esports Tower Combine that we were invited to as coaches.
And then, we talked about Cosmobuster a little bit, but can you give us, as much as you can, a timeline on that trio of Cosmo, Baynock, and Ace Pocket, how long we can expect them to be around? Because they have been the staple of Boise State Rocket League as long as I've been here. So when are we looking to say, so long, good luck in the rest of your life kind of thing for those three players?
My desire always is to allow the senior in their last semester to enjoy their experience more. So they may see less play in their senior season so they can enjoy all of it, right? We know that we've got Cosmo through for a December graduation next year, so likely there'll be one more semester, but it may start to taper off, and that's why we're interested. We've got to make sure that we've got other talented students coming in who want the opportunity that he really kind of forged for them.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with Dean, but I guarantee you somebody's going to get called Cosmo Buster at some point, even after he graduates, because that is the most mind-blowing statistic. There has not been a Boise State Rocket League team without Cosmo Buster, which is absolutely insane to me.
And maybe we kind of go Dread Pirate Roberts methodology, where just somebody comes in and takes over the mantle of Cosmo Buster, and it just passes down the line.
I mean, that's not a bad idea. It'd definitely make my life as a caster a lot easier. I wouldn't complain at all. Looks like there's a ton of talented players. Still absolutely insane to me that there's still an esports signing day. And then that would lead me to the next question, Is there a limit on players you can sign? I know, football, 25 players. What is that limited number of players you can be seeing added to the Boise State's roster in esports?
We have 100,000 in scholarships that we're using this semester, this year. Likely 150 next year, depending on the needs of the students and additional costs of bringing them in from other places. It limits what we're able to offer. Okay. So the first thing we look for generally is, what are your grades like? Because there are many scholarships available based on your academics that we can then add esports to. There's some reciprocity between Western states and the WUI, the Western University Exchange. So somebody from Colorado or from Montana or from Nevada has more, I guess, spending power at Idaho University with the addition of our. So those are considerations. It depends on where they come from and what they bring as far as academic assets for us to be able to help try to encourage them. But I will tell you this. There is a tremendous interest from people who want to come and be a part of the Boise State program right now because of our amazing broadcast setup, the amazing coaches that we have, the way that the university supports what we do. So many are like, well, I'm going to go to college. Boise State is at the top of my list. What additional resources are available? As opposed to I don't want to go there unless there's a full ride. We're not having those conversations. People understand, they get the value of what the institution provides because of the way they support esports. They want to be, many, if not most, want to be a part of this place.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome place to be a part of. I can definitely say that. And it is really interesting that, as you mentioned, there's not really a limit. It's how much financially can we support you? How much does that leave for everyone else? It does kind of cause a little bit of a different dynamic, whereas opposed to the football. All right, you get 25 scholarships, do them as you will. But I know you still got to be excited. You've got 3 kids for sure coming tomorrow, 2 top 500 Overwatch players, a GM support as well. Really couldn't ask for much. I mean, this is basically, second Christmas for you, Doc.
It's really exciting to see folks at the beginning of their experience. That's really what it is. I mean, yes, we want to be competitive, but there's always a process, to bring new people in and to come up with a common language and to work together and to believe and trust in one another. That takes a long time. But the enjoyment of seeing somebody go, oh my gosh, I'm going to college, or to have these conversations with the families. My favorite thing we're going to get to see for not the first time, but maybe the first time in mass tomorrow, which is this realization of the freshman or the sophomore in the bleachers, like, oh my gosh, I want to be the next Mark. I want to be the next Brett. I want to be the next John. They're going to see the world in a completely different way. And as our parents and administrators, because of the work that these folks have done and the decision that they've made to come to Boise State, it's going to change so much in their world and the belief in what is really possible. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to me that 5 years ago, if you told me that there would be a signing day for esports and any high school in the world would be holding a assembly, I would tell you, okay, haha, good joke, should I get you checked out for something right now? So it's absolutely incredible. Would not shock me if in 10, 15 years from now, this is somehow on ESPN or a dedicated esports channel at that point, because it just seems to be blowing up just incredibly fast. Boise State, one of the pioneers, getting rewarded with a huge class for you, Doc. I mean, second Christmas, delayed birthday gift, really whatever you want to call it. I think your hardest part is going to be, and every coach runs into this when they have a huge class, you can only play so many players. How do you get all these talented players on the field? So I don't envy your position at all, because unfortunately I don't think Overwatch is changing the rules to let you play 7 players.
No, but this is the position we want to be in. We want to have so many great people that we have to struggle to find the right way to get them in versus an imbalance, right? A couple of great players who are frustrated because they, we're just not at the same level as some of the peers. We know the neighborhood that we want to live in, right? With the Maryvilles and the Harrisburgs, the Mizzous, the UT Dallas, the UCIs, Utahs. That's the neighborhood that we want to live in competitively. And to do that, you have to have enough talent that you have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, also, Boise State, you talked about, first thing you got to do is win your conference. A little bit harder in esports, but League of Legends is defending champions. Overwatch last spring took home second place. So, I mean, you guys are right there in terms of, once you run the conference, those kids from Nevada, those kids from California, they're going to want to come because, Fresno State or Boise State, be on the team that's the champion. So I think Boise State's putting themselves in a great position. I'm really excited, and I will say 99% of those names, at least the gamer tags, I'm all in. There's a couple of them I'm like, Doc, let me know if you get that guy. I got to pull him off to the side, make sure we go over some pronunciation. But 99% of those guys, I'm like, Chosen, Light Pulse, that is easy. I don't even have to worry about it. I can do that in my sleep. So I'm also hyped that I'm not going to be like, I don't know who that guy's name is. We're gonna call him, Q today because I just don't know how to say it. So really, really appreciate that.
Well, they'll go through the standard college makeover of the. I want to make a suggestion here, that we talk about branding you. This is an opportunity if we go Dread Pirate Roberts Cosmo Buster style, maybe. But, I mean, Modern Frost didn't even escape that conversation. He's just now Frost.
As long as none of them get to Goblin, the League of Legends player, who finally didn't change his name for a semester, because that's always the thing. I'm like, did we get a new player? Like, oh, no, it's Goblin. I'm like, okay, why isn't it still Goblin or whatever it used to be? It's been changed 4 different times. So, yeah, as long as one of those guys can get in here, hey, you should change it every semester.
Well, I think that one's going to stay for a while because he was able to convince the person that had that spelling to give it to him. So I think we're going to stay there for a while, although maybe we're shifting because his Discord now is Roblin.
Oh, no. At least there's some semblance. But, yeah, I mean, one name, nice and easy for the caster. That's all we care about. But, I mean, right now the talent level for Boise State, absolutely insane, Doc. So, I mean, you got to be happy. You're just hoping for tomorrow. I know every time, at least when I was in the football side of things, there was always that so-and-so didn't shine up for their signing day. So-and-so didn't fax in the letter. I'm sure you probably have that still in the back of your mind.
It's all digital now, so we'll know immediately. You know, there can be no fax problems. And in a couple of these cases, actually in all 3 of the cases that you see, the signing is the pageantry and the formality. The intent to compete has already been submitted.
Well, that's perfect because I'm sure there's some coach somewhere losing sleep because he doesn't know if his star prospect, be whatever sport is having national signing day tomorrow, is going to sign. So you've got to be happy. Ton of talented players on the radar as well. And it is the one thing in college sports that always is kind of sad. You're like, you know, I grew up watching Buster. We've watched him grow this whole time. What do you mean he's got to go? Where does he have to leave? So it is kind of one of those bittersweet moments where you got to replace the guys who, you know, you've come to know and love, but you're happy that they're making sure that they're finishing off their college careers and that you're replacing them. So it is one of those bittersweet moments.
It sure is, but we're excited. We're excited to get some folks in here.
Well, that's going to do it for our signing day breakdown. If you're a Boise State fan, you've got to be excited for those 3 members that are officially coming tomorrow, and there's still some more on the radar, and Boise State esports on the up and up. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Don't forget, the current Broncos in action all this week, especially the League of Legends team in Sealol and Upsurge. So if you want to stay tuned for that, make sure you drop a follow on the channel and come watch your current Broncos before it's too late. But for now, we're going to wrap things up, and until next time, have a great evening.